Yeah, coming back to this fire spreading part, I think it's interesting. You mentioned before about educated people running the chain. Well, I think there's another dimension to this as well, and it's like, yeah, you got educated, smart people running the chain and taking a heavier weight on the vote. But at the same time, it's not just that. It's there's a lot of people on Hive who have earned their stake. I think this is
Hmm.
the key term here. It's like, have you earned your stake over a period of time,
Hmm.
such that you can provably show that the community supports what you're about, supports what you're, the things that you talk about, and everything like this. And then, after some years, there's a certain point where you actually start to maintain it. You actually start to garner a reasonable amount of influence on the network, and that to me is incredibly powerful, because it's like, it's not just like, oh, this guy is smart so he can vote. It's like, no, this guy's smart, but he had to prove it over a period of time, and now he's like a valuable member of the community because the community directed inflation his way, you
Yeah,
know,
we
and
can
that
look at
person
that.
then has earned the influence, right?
We can look at that in practice. What you just said. Imagine two scenarios. One where we didn't have. I don't really like doing proof of burn anymore. I like saying distributed, incentivized to stakeholder distribution. So you're incentivized to distribute your stake. Once you have, imagine having the chain with that and the chain without that, where only the top 20, and or in the backups we're getting the inflation. Well, I'm not saying Taskmaster wouldn't have bought some, but he wouldn't be as strong in the capacity that he is. You wouldn't have a Tarzar. You wouldn't have. I'm terrible with name addicted. Like a lot of these people here were able to earn some, if not a lot, of their stake, which those are soldiers on the ground. That's boots on the ground. These are people who are valuable members. They vote. They understand governance. They understand how these things work. They participate in the infrastructure. Well, if you block off and you wall garden like every other, let's look at Ethereum. I'm not trying to shit on Ethereum. I'm trying to give constructive feedback. Only the validators there are getting Ethereum, aka the largest staking pools. Well, you're missing a lot of soldiers, a lot of boots on the
Yeah.
ground, a lot of people who aren't able to earn. We're on Hive. We can look around and see how many people have earned, still here, still participating. And, I would bet Taskmaster will be here in 10 years if he's healthy and alive. Knock on wood, of course. But he's still kicking. He's going to be here. All of us will, in my opinion, who are probably listening in this room right now, who are earning in Hive in some capacity. If you remove that, I don't know. It's sort of like removing the soul, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. And this is a really good point to segue, I think. Talking about soldiers and boots on the ground, the phenomenon here is that you are directing a disproportionate amount of the inflation
Mm-hmm.
away from the miners and to the people who are creating value in the ecosystem via, I mean, in this case, via content, right? But it could be any other mechanism that you use.
Building boreholes, anything really.
Building, but so this is where you come to soldiers on the ground, and I think it's something that you noted before, Dan, that stayed in my mind a little bit. Like, you don't see. I'm correct. I might be wrong here. That I don't know for sure, but I haven't seen like an Ethereum grassroots community in Ghana. I haven't seen an Ethereum grassroots community in Indonesia. I haven't seen an Ethereum grassroots community in Venezuela. Right? Why? Because these tokens are all about hodl the token and wait for the price to go up, and that's about all they've got to offer to just to, let's call them, soldier boots on the ground, right?
Yep.
Whereas with what's happening with Hive, and I hate to sound like I'm pumping Hive too much, but I'm struggling to see any issues with it here.
Mm-hmm.
You've got these communities popping up organically. They don't ask permission. They do, but they do. Well, it's permission in that they're blogging about cool stuff that they're doing, and then they're earning respect and votes from the community, right? And then you're using that money to go fund borehole projects and meetups in Venezuela and Ghana and places like this, right? And this just, it's like an organic creation of soldier boots on the ground, that people are just there actually using the technology, and because they don't have to buy in and they can earn respect and inflation from the community, you get these grassroots communities popping up all over the world that doesn't happen on other cryptos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of these people in these communities. Sure, some will sell some, but some will power some up, and then guess what? Now they're incentivized to distribute, and who are they distributing? Deeper into the community, the roots go deeper and deeper because it's just the power of communication, the power of, I know 10 people, and those 10 people know 10, and before you know it, you know the entire world. where they say, you know, everyone's off by 6 people. This is literally the deepest. That's why we're not just in communities. There's a difference between having a centralized funded event in some community and saying, oh, we're trying to help the world, this or that. Like, we're very deep. The word infiltrated, but in a good way. And all of these communities, the deepest, the moms, the papas, like people are building plaques. People are thankful. It's a bubbling. It's a bubbling. And eventually one of those 6 people gets on national news in Venezuela. Oh, might get in national news in Ghana, might get in national news. You know, who knows, right? So.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because there are definite clear examples now of this happening. There's people building cool projects, such as the borehole project in Ghana. They've been all over the radio and the TV all over Ghana. You've got people in Venezuela. Router Blockchain is currently top of trending. He's been interviewed by a mainstream news channel in Venezuela, and they're out there doing this, and the country, the media in the country, the local media in the countries they're operating in is noticing them, and no one has paid anyone to do this. It's like there's no centralized backer behind this, you know, either rubbing their fingers or anything like this, right? There's no one that's made contact with the local authorities and made a meetup and paid for it from outside. This is where the local people are doing local stuff, and the local news stations are picking them up organically. And this is a phenomenon, you know. This is real grassroots stuff, you know. I just don't see many other ecosystems able to do this without someone having to pay someone from the top, and then therefore you have the influence side of it that's potentially a corrupting force. Whereas this is like just grassroots. It's just pure grassroots.
Yeah, I've always said, you know, Hive is going to be. We're gonna have to keep trucking until people can't ignore us. Right? We're not gonna get any favors. We're not gonna get any handouts. Yeah. Web2 giants aren't gonna do us any favors. Celebrities aren't gonna do us any favors. But if we keep doing what we're doing, you're just gonna be like Hive, 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 and then before you know it, people are gonna start building these communities and starting to use them in ways where they become mini digital nations, and they're able to bring up communities from their own bootstraps. That's the power of this tech. That's what. You know, I went on a rant the other day. I was like, that's always been the mission, right? Like, just transferring digital coins is not enough. You need to give people philosophies, parameters, ways people can actually help people in a realistic way, where people are like, wow, I can see I've seen what Leo Finance, I see what the Stoker community, I see the skating community, I see all of these communities popping up and coming up with their own ways to give value. Value is perceived, and if you have a community of people all trying to win because they're like, hey, if this token wins, if this network wins, we all win. That's what we always wanted. That's what countries were supposed to be. They don't feel like that anymore. They feel alienated. It feels like people, you know, just don't feel incentivized to do good. Well, Web3 changes that, and these digital communities, you see clearly. Look at the Leo Finance community. Clearly, these people are incentivized and want this community to succeed, and they're doing everything they can. Transfer that to countries, to neighbors, bring that same power back. We have that. We have all the tools. It's just a matter of, that's the thing that's funny, man. People are going to bitch. They're going to say, oh, you know, why aren't we getting this? Why aren't people giving us? You just have to be ferocious with it. You just have to say, who cares? We're going to keep trucking forward because we know this is right. And eventually they can't ignore us.
Yeah, exactly. Jon, I want to give a big shout out to Jon Snow here. He says, we're going to kick ass in Venezuela, you'll see. Like the likes of John.
They already are. But yeah, keep it going.
Well, yeah, that's first of all, they already are. But I also want to say, you know, the likes of Jon Snow, these guys, like, they're just plugging away for months and months and years now. Like, these guys are just consistently going. And the thing that I find interesting with that part of the community is they know that somewhere in there there's something good going on, right? And so they just keep at it. They just keep at it and keep at it, and they're just chipping away. And there'll be a certain point where it breaks, where the dam breaks, you know, and it'll just, whether or not it goes viral in Venezuela, I don't know, but it's certainly becoming popular there. And it's just the ability to distribute these rewards to people doing good stuff for other people in the community. It's massive. And I think just slowly but surely, just all this chipping away that's happening by people like Jon Snow it's starting to show results now, you know. And it's just great to see. Love to see it.
Yeah, and we have the DAO, which, keep in mind, that came later, which proves that this community can create new ways to distribute the token, which is exciting because we know that our distribution isn't set. We might add another cool way that nobody thought about, right? It just as no one thought about adding the base layer DAO, which I also think is essential. We talk a long time about that, but you need a base layer DAO to incentivize all kinds of things from coding, right? You don't want a centralized funded dev team, right? You see these on some of the most popular networks. You want a DAO that can contribute to that, right? So just seeing another distribution method where people are able to put in a DAO proposal, become a part of the community. Before you know it, you're getting funded, you're getting upvotes, you're able to earn governance token, and a lot of value in basically out of thin air, because you're in a place where physically you can't do it, but if you're able to get on the internet, Web 2 gave you a chance where you might go viral, but now they've taken that away with all the censorship and all that, made it basically like TV. That's what a lot of people are saying. I see YouTube as it's basically like television now. Either in the in crowd or you're not. Web3 is like, okay, well, we'll not only give you the ability to go viral without censorship, but you also have the ability to go viral with your wealth, with your value creation without censorship.